You're listening to the Breezy Moms podcast on Digital Stream Radio.
July is off to a rocky start, so stick around.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Breezy Moms Podcast, a weekly show that chronicles the adventures of motherhood. I'm Candace. Now let's start the show.
Hey!
Greetings and salutations, my friends, and my dear friend Candace. I've missed you.
I have. The time goes by so
I
quickly.
know. Like I always say, time flies when you're on Prozac. It's
I'm not on Prozac, but
I,
it's still
I,
flying by.
I live my life on a virtual, like on a wannabe on Prozac, and
Mhm.
so yeah, time flies. It's always going fast. It's like you blink and it's already mid-July.
It
Like
really is, and I feel like the state just closed.
like
You know what I mean? Like I feel like that was just yesterday,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and now we're back open, which we shouldn't be, but that's a whole nother
Yeah,
story.
it's just ridiculous, right? Because it's already July 9th. And by the way,
I'm
just have to
listening.
put this out there. We did get an extension on filing taxes, but they're due July 15th. So you've got
Ooh,
6 days. Make sure you
good
get
good
that
note.
done. Get
Of
that
course,
done.
I have a husband who's into accounting and budgeting, so ours have been done since I don't know February.
I did mine last weekend. Oh my God. I'm getting so much money
That's awesome.
back.
That's awesome.
So I'm doing a lot of
Although
projects. Mm.
although Dave Ramsey would say that if you're getting a whole lot of money back from your taxes, it means that you're not living on it during the year. So you might want to adjust
Oh
your
no, that's not the reason
um
why.
oh.
As you all know, we all went solar. I
Mhm.
went solar. You probably went solar. Did you know that you get a break, right? Tax
Mhm.
break
Mhm.
on your taxes. That was a pretty
Mhm.
hefty break for me.
Mm.
Very
That's a
hefty
good point.
break.
That's a good
So,
point.
a large portion of my tax return that's coming back had to do with a very, very beautiful tax break for going solar last
Ooh.
year. So
So good.
that's all I'm
So
gonna say.
good.
So
Well, we are here this week. We missed last week.
that's
I
right.
don't remember. Well, it was the holiday. It was James's birthday. I was feeling a little bit lazy, but yeah. So James's birthday is on the 2nd, and I have the distinct pleasure of having my husband and my best friend have a birthday on the same day.
Ooh.
And so it's fun. It's always been fun through the years. And actually, a friend actually said that how lucky am I that the fates got together and like made the two of them just for me. And I was like, well,
Imagine that.
right? Like
And
I
I
used to.
have to tell you, they broke the mold when they made your husband.
They did.
I
They
think they did.
did. And Dr. Kima is a joy. I used to think, I think maybe you were thinking earlier, like it's tough to have two people you love birthday on the same day because you might have to choose or whatever. But when my friend Jody put it in this way that like they were made for me, they were both made for me on that day. It totally put things into perspective. So
And they're both
happy
Leos, right?
belated birthday. Yep. Yeah.
Ooh,
No, I think they're Cancer.
Cancer? Oh
I think
yes,
they're
yes, Cancer. Oh
Cancer.
my God, wait, what's today? Today's tonight. My ex is a Cancer,
I don't know anything about
July
anybody's
12th.
sign except my own.
So yeah, so they're both Cancers. You're right. So Leo is August for whatever reason. I thought we were in August. See, I'm like flying by. The summer is already flying by.
It
June
is.
left
It
us.
is. A shout out to Keisha who's watching. I love
Hmm.
Keisha, always a faithful watcher of the show. So thank you for being here.
Hi,
Yeah,
Keisha.
the summer is flying by. We're
Hmm.
already in July, and I learned this the hard way that like I'm just getting my act together to do a little bit of outdoor organizing and beautifying. And
Hmm.
so I went to a bunch of stores this past weekend trying to get some umbrellas, some new cushions,
Good
things like that
luck.
because exactly like
Good luck.
Target doesn't even look like it ever sold outdoor furniture. They're
Hello.
already they're already getting ready for school and I was like, "Do you guys even know if school is opening?" But
No.
but still it just
So
I'm so
listen,
late. I didn't
I
know.
I think that schools should open when the White House starts accepting tours again.
That's a good point.
Right?
That's a
So if
really
you
good point.
if tours are not good to go through the White House because you're afraid the president might get COVID, then our children don't need to be going into a building where germs can collect and
And
start
so many
infecting
kids, so many
themselves
people.
and teachers and then bringing all those germs back home. You know how it goes. and then
Mhm.
fall is coming, and then you have the regular flu and this and that and allergies, and them kids do not belong in that school. I'm
They
sorry.
really don't. But to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
parents are going through it right now. And I have
Okay.
felt so strange about how it feels to like really want your kids to go to school and know that it's a big risk. And so
Mm-hmm.
parents are like trying to figure out how to manage the risk of them going back to school with like the risk of going crazy from everybody's home in your house,
It's like, what do
or
you
the
do?
fact
Put them in
that
a bubble?
everybody has to go, that people have to go to work. Not everybody
Mm-hmm.
gets to stay home and work from home. Some people have jobs where you actually have to be out of the house at the job.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing about the bubble thing is tricky though, because it seems like, what are you going to do, put them in a bubble? But like, this thing is serious, and sometimes I think I'm taking calculated risk. But on the flip side of that, like, I just went to see my mom today, my mom and my sister, and I think that it's a calculated risk. But if we get sick, it'll feel like I didn't really need to go. Like in the moment, it feels like I really need to see them. I really need to get the kids out of the house. They really need to see other people. Like, we got home, and Emery was laying on the floor, and he goes, "Mom, it was a really nice day at your mom's house today."
Mm.
And my heart just melted, like, just melted, because they really want to, they're so social. Kids are a lot of kids are so social, and they really want to be out seeing people. And so I feel like they really need it. But if we get sick, it'll feel like, oh, actually, we could have foregone that last
Yeah.
visit. I don't know. It's
I just
hard.
think that we need to think of it this way. It's only a year, right? I mean, at least that's what we're anticipating. We're 4 months in. We've got about another, 7, 8, 9 months before we can even realize whether or not we can come up with a vaccine or
Mm,
something that could help
mm-hmm.
bring things a little bit back to normal. But we're not going back to normal.
We're
This has
not.
changed the way we do humanity in a way
Mm-hmm.
in the 21st century, right?
Mm-hmm. And
It's
you think about the
everything.
last pandemic took millions of people,
Hmm.
and we're close to that just here in the U.S.
That's
So
right.
I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want anybody I know to be one of those people. So I'm trying not to be too cavalier with, it's just a virus, because I think
Yeah.
it's more than that.
But
There.
and a lot of people need to think about the impacts. So I'm not sure if you're aware, and he's already made it public, so I will share with you. But
Mm-hmm.
Nick, my co-host, lost his grandmother 2 days ago, not to COVID, but
Oh,
as a result of COVID. Um, you know, um,
you mean like
they can
she had COVID
no,
and
no, no. She didn't die of COVID. So
uh
she
huh.
she had dementia and she had a heart attack, and unfortunately she didn't
Yeah.
make it, and so she ended up passing away. And one of the issues with something like that happening in the midst of a pandemic is that they can't have services.
Right. Right.
And so you can't really say goodbye to someone who's near and dear to your heart
Mm-hmm.
the way that you want to, and that's going to be very devastating. And so I literally called my mother and I said, "You're not going to do this to me. Stop going to your
Right.
sister's house every goddamn weekend. Stop doing
Exactly.
this. Stop doing that. Stay in your house." I said to her, "You know what? Next year has a summer too.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have to be bored out of our minds and really losing it for a year, I think that is a good price to pay for life."
It's true. It's true. It feels in the moment.
Hmm.
And I know that's the point. That's the whole point, is that it feels in the moment like we can't handle another day and we just have to go. And to be fair, I'm trying to keep it 100, and it's weird. I know we're kind of just like going into the show. This is going to be one of those just like chit chatty shows.
Hmm.
I don't really have a plan for today. It's been a little bit challenging still, even though I think I've gotten myself under control, given pandemic and general sense of not knowing what's going on or what's next, or fear, that kind of thing. But still, it's tough for me to always be on top of my game all the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Sometimes you just gotta roll with it and come as you are. So today is one of those days where we just come as we are, and we're just going to do a little bit of like chit chatting of what's going on. But
Yeah, and
the
and
point
you
is,
know, and realize that this is like the game of Jumanji. Like
right?
it's July. Let's see what July brings. Although we
Exactly.
already know,
It's wild.
and
So
so
what I was saying is that we went. What I was saying is, I recognize that I know that we should still be mindful of our exposure. That's how I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to be mindful of my exposure and take some calculated risks and hang out with other people who are also taking similar. A friend of mine called it a similar risk profile, right? um and but I recognize that sometimes I'm not as free. Like, I won't take pictures when I'm over at a friend's house. I don't want for people who look at my social media to think that we're just out gallivanting, right?
girl, they will
Because
read you to filth.
right, because they'll
Whew.
read you to filth. But also, I'm saying out loud that I'm taking some calculated risk, and I'm
Mhm.
hanging out with people who have a similar risk profile, right? So my kids are not in school camp, in any kind of camp situation. I've been hanging out with other people whose kids are at home. You know what I mean? I've been hanging out with other people who are at home most of the day. And I know that's not exactly how communicative diseases works, right? It
Mhm.
only takes one person. But after 4 months, all we can, like, we're taking some risk. We're not staying in the house as much
Yeah.
as we can. But I feel like, because, and again, I'm not famous. People still don't know that we have this show, but people are watching me, and I feel
Mhm.
a responsibility to not show people that it's okay to gallivant, because it's really not okay to gallivant right now. I think the best thing that we can do is really identify one or two families that we can hang out with, and everybody is sort of just hanging out with each other. And that's really challenging, because you and someone else might be my two people, but me and someone else might be your two people.
Mhm.
Like the degrees of
So
separation can still get a
exactly,
little bit big.
and
But
and
if you're
this
mindful of it, I think it's just the point is to be mindful of it.
and the sad thing is that that may lead to complacency in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that we may get a false sense of security and then start that leads to okay, we can go here, let's go grab some ice cream at the
I
ice cream
know.
parlor,
I know.
right? And or let's go to the beach, and
Mm-hmm.
not realize that while you're practicing safe social distancing, not everybody else around you is, and then next thing you know it, people are just plopping their stuff right next to you,
Right. Right.
right? And what are you going to do? Get up and say, dude, you're literally less than 6 feet away from me, you need to
I
move,
know.
right?
I know.
And
But it
statistically,
was so nice to see my mom today.
oh,
You
I can
know, like,
imagine.
I know that we should be social distance, but she sat right next to me on the chair. The kids are I swear to God, the only thing I could say today, I was like, "Mom, you can't share food." Like, that was the only thing that I could get out during the visit. Like,
Yeah.
don't share the eggs with the kids. But like, we were in the house, we weren't wearing masks, but like, it just felt so good. It felt so good to see my mom and my sister, and I don't know how we're supposed to manage without that.
And we're gonna have to learn, because
Right.
here is we're gonna have to, because here's the scary part. So we're starting to see, so while New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts have had a downtrend
And Rhode
in
Island.
Rhode Island in reported cases,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna go right back up.
We are.
Right?
It's
Other
really
states,
scary.
about 30 states right now, have shown spikes in increases of COVID-19. And
Mm-hmm.
they were the ones that opened up early, and they said, screw with the whole mask thing and social distancing, and we're not going to enforce that. Then you have our states. that got really strict. We had, a mandated quarantine. We did all of the business closings. We were opening businesses, and right now, phase three got canceled.
Mm.
We're not opening
I didn't
bars.
even Oh, I didn't even realize. That's
Yep,
great news. I
bars are
mean,
not
I think that's
opening
great news.
until further notice. And so what ends up happening is now I'm literally driving around in my car by myself. I go to
Mhm.
Lowe's and I come back home. That's my trip every day. And I'm watching and I'm observing people on the beach, no
Mhm.
social distancing. I'm looking at restaurants, and I'm sorry, I'm going to put one on the spot right now, but when you look at what's inside, for example, Dive Bar here in West Haven on the beach, there
Mm.
are people packed like sardines inside that restaurant, people
Wow.
outside. Not one person has a mask on, and none of them are social distancing. And that is a recipe
For
for
the
a spike
disaster.
again.
Yeah. So I think that Connecticut has a sorry, hold on.
No, that's okay. Yay.
I think that Connecticut has a false sense of like
Security.
bravado right now, false
Hmm.
sense of security where, it's Connecticut and Rhode Island who are the two states that have been listed as having the lowest rate of new cases. Um, but there's no wall around our state, right?
Hmm.
There's nothing to keep me from going somewhere, which it didn't today, and there's nothing to keep people from coming here. So again, I think it's really important that we maintain some common sense and really try to manage our risk as best that we can, and probably even better than we can. Like I see a lot of people wearing the mask like with their nose uncovered.
Oh,
I see a lot of people not wearing the mask. Like just
so
because it's low doesn't mean it's gone.
I'll tell you the story. So this morning, no, it was yesterday. Yesterday, I had to go into the office, mask, gloves, the whole 9 yards, to bring my computer because I was having issues. So I had to bring it into our little IT corner to have it looked at. And before I went there, I showered. I did what I had to do. I put on real people clothes, and and I went to Dunkin' Donuts. And the line in drive-through was insane, but I saw that they were open, meaning that you can walk in. So I
Mhm.
walk in, I am the only person there. Every single employee at this Dunkin' Donuts had their nose exposed.
Yeah.
The only person wearing gloves was the person handing stuff in the drive through, and not one person in that entire place had gloves on, and every single mask was uncovering their nose. I said, yeah, I'm going to skip coffee today, and literally just got right back in my car and left.
I've noticed that at my Dunkin' Donuts too, that everybody has a mask somewhere on them, but
Hmm.
it's usually down on their nose or hanging from their ear, so not covering their whole face. It's not
It's not an
it's
easy
it's
thing.
not great. It's not.
It's
I
not an,
know that
it's
it's not easy. I
to work
know
with a
it's not
mask on.
easy.
And
I
so when
know.
I saw that, first of all, the person that was making food had no mask on
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, no, I can't do this. And so my thing is this: listen, we have protocols in place and we have things that are in place that need to be abided by. You're serving the public in the midst of a
Mhm.
pandemic. We allowed you to stay open, but you need to follow protocol. Because if you can't do
Yeah.
that, then you don't need to be open.
There some places are better than others, but still
Yeah.
it's not great. And but I haven't driven away. So I guess my risk profile is not as low as I thought it was.
No, I was like,
Um
I'm not taking a chance. It's like
yeah.
she's literally grabbing coffee cups with no gloves on. There was no sense. I didn't get the sense that they were taking their gift seriously. Right? It is a gift for you as a business to be allowed to be open in the state of Connecticut in the midst of this pandemic. Right? And
Mhm.
so you were given a gift. You were given permission to open and operate, and you're squandering it. You're putting yourself at risk and your customers at risk when you're not following protocols as they should be followed.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. I totally
You
agree.
know,
Oh, I
does it
messed up my
suck that I'm the little Debbie Downer that? But listen, I'm worried about my health. I'm worried about the health of my family. I'm worried about the health of my friends. And so I need to do everything I can to minimize exposing someone else to a potential deadly you know, bug. And
Mm-hmm.
so
That's real.
if we're not all thinking that way, then that's a problem, right? And
It's
that's
really
the thing.
true.
We're not all thinking that way. We
No, we're
have
not.
people that are in places of power. We have governors in states like, for example, Florida, that are literally just now acknowledging that masks need to be worn when that should have been a thing March 1st.
Right.
And
It's
here we are
true.
in July, right? And now people are going out. It's Florida. It's nice, sunny. It's the sunshine state, right?
Mm-hmm.
People go to beaches and they do all of this stuff. And
And they're
ah,
crowding at beaches.
oh my God, yeah. So it's scary. We're living in a scary time, and there is no playbook. There is no
Mm-hmm.
instruction manual on how do you handle this, but there is science, right? And and so we need to heed the warnings because I see, given what I've observed myself firsthand, I see us reverting back to a upward trend.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I Sorry, I just got confused. I'm worried. I'm worried, and I was feeling a little bit guilty this week. I would say this week I was feeling a little bit guilty because the kids are at home with me, and
Mm-hmm.
I have some friends who are putting their kids in camp, and who have their kids in daycare, and my daycare is still closed, and the kids are at home with me, and I'm stressed out about it. I'm trying to figure out what to do with them, but I've been feeling guilty, like camp is open, other people are sending their kids to camp, maybe I should send my kids to camp. But I can't shake the feeling that, like, we do a lot and sometimes I don't give myself credit for all of the things we do.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even if we have one bummer summer where we don't do a whole lot, maybe it's worth it, you know? Like, I'm going to be crazy anyway by the end of the summer, but if we stay healthy, um then maybe it's worth it. And I don't really know how to fix it. I don't know how to help people make the
Yeah.
decision about whether they should send their kids to camp. I think every family, since the states are opened up and we're sort of in stage 1 or stage 2 in many of the different states, it's not an easy thing to just say, "Oh, things are closed, so stay home, quarantine definitely in your house."
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's situation is different, right? Again, we don't all have the luxury to work from home. Some people have to go out to work.
Mm-hmm.
But
And I
whatever you can
understand that
do,
100%. And so then you
yeah.
come up with a game plan and you minimize your risk. But had we been really following what they were telling us to do from the beginning and really being strict about no communication, no physical communication with
Mhm.
people and staying away from places unless you absolutely needed to be there, like a supermarket, for example.
Yeah.
Had we been really, like all of us, making an effort to really stick to that, I think that kids would have been on their way back to school
To school.
come time to open, and that businesses would have been open a lot faster and
Mhm.
with less restrictions if we just followed what we were advised to do.
But we don't know how to follow the rules. We don't know how to follow the rules,
That's
which
right.
brings me to a really I feel like that is a really good segue for the thing that I wanted to talk, the thing in addition to this that I wanted to talk about. So that was just an update that we just did on like the state of coronavirus
Mm,
pandemic life in Connecticut.
episode 500.
Right? On the first week of July, the second
Ah,
week of July. But in terms of following the rules, right?
mhm,
And I guess to be fair, like the rules just changed for white people, where like it's not okay to just like go with the flow like we used to, where we just like allowed systemic racism to fly,
mhm,
right? Like right now, right now, everybody should be on their P's and Q's about what's going on. And
mhm.
some new rules have been set, and it's actually kind of hilarious to see the people who are falling face first, flat, like no guard, just falling face first against the rules.
These
So
Karens are just horrible.
so they're horrible. But today in like hot topics, things that I just had to get off my chest, just had
Mm.
to talk about. There's a group, a country music group called Lady Antebellum. And if you don't know, somehow you're watching this and you don't know anything about me, I really like country music. I've always
I do
liked
too.
country music since high school. since high school and before, I've been really into probably like new age country music, which is like leaning more towards pop music, but still, I have a love for country music. I also recognize that most of country music is not intended for people who look like me. There are not a ton of black country artists, although they're
Unless you're
growing.
like Darius Rucker or something like
Unless you
that.
like Darius Rucker, who's really good. And I mean, there are some old school country artists that
Mm-hmm.
that people know, but in the new vein, it's very white, and
Yeah.
I roll with it. And that's been since the '90s. It's been totally white, and it's okay. So what I do is I really enjoy country music in my house, in my car, but I would never go to a country music concert. Like I'm just not going to put myself in that kind of situation,
Right.
just in case. You just never know. When shit goes south, I don't want it to be me that they're looking at.
Listen.
So anyway, I like country music. All of that is to say I like country music. So there's this group called Lady Antebellum. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a 3-person group. They're known for their harmonies, and they're a singer songwriter group. And I have really enjoyed them for the last decade, probably the last 10 years, probably. Um, Even though their name is Lady Antebellum, which we'll get to in a second, I've just enjoyed them. It's very easy to listen to, very cool. Now, the thing to discuss is the fact that their name is Lady Antebellum, and antebellum means before the war, right? And so what's happening, and what they finally recognized in the last several months is that I take that back. What they've recognized in the last several years is that antebellum is not just southern heritage, right? Like people like to say that the
Mm-hmm.
confederacy is southern heritage. It's not hate, it's just heritage.
It is not heritage.
But when you're talking about antebellum, there's no way to talk about, like, there's only one bellum that we're talking about, right? Even though it's a general term, when we talk about it here, we're talking about the Civil War. And anytime anything before the Civil War is like drenched in slavery, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't pretend to think about anything else. Like nothing else matters. Everything is drenched in slavery.
Yeah, and
So
the
if
fact
you're
that
going to,
half of one nation went after the other half that wanted to secede to keep
right, to keep
slavery.
the slavery. So in the last couple years, they've sort of accepted that even though it sounded cool, it probably isn't cool, and it definitely isn't cool. So over the last couple years, they have been using the moniker Lady A, right, as a
Mm-hmm.
shortened version of their name. They were still Lady Antebellum, but they were going by Lady A, and their sound changed a little bit, and everybody was like rolling with it. I actually don't think they were as good as they were when I first started listening to them. So I think I own their first 2 albums, but I haven't purchased the last several ones. Anyway, that's my own personal thing. So they're going by Lady A. Now, turns out that there is a blues singer, a black woman, whose name is Anita something, and she has been going by Lady A for like the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And she's on the
So
West
she
Coast.
and she's in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been going by Lady A for the last 20 years, even through this time that they've been calling themselves Lady A, but still technically Lady Antebellum. So now, I mean, announced yesterday or this morning, they thought that they should now change their name, like officially change their name from Lady Antebellum to Lady A. And
Well, they
oops,
made that
you
announcement like almost two
yesterday.
months ago.
Oh, okay.
They made
So,
the announcement 2 months ago that
okay, I
they were
missed that.
doing that,
That they were
and then
changing officially.
yes, and
Okay.
then they find out there's another
e-
Lady A. And what did they do,
Exactly.
Miss Candace?
So what they do is like, oh no, we should be Lady A, and we
Mm-hmm.
should have it from you, whoever you are, right? And so now they've decided that they're going to sue this woman for the right to share the name Lady A, because it's not how like copyrights or like things work. You don't get to just say, "Oh, you have a name but I'm going to take it." And you also don't get to say, "Oh, you have a name but I also want to use that name." Like, or else every shoe company could become Nike, or
But
every like phone company could become Apple. Like you can't share names.
but the most important part of the story is the fact that they went through so much internal like rediscovery and trying to
Yes, yes.
understand how racial it was, and
How
we
Antebellum
needed
was
to
not
get
good.
we need to get
Hmm.
rid of it. And then the moment you find out that a black woman in Seattle who's a soul singer going by the name of Lady A
For
has that
20 years.
name and you want it,
You forget all the soul searching you just did. Like they
it was
literally forgot all the soul searching that they just did.
you might as well go back to Lady
And
Antebellum.
so it turns into like, oh, but we want it and you should give it to us. Now there's some information here that sounds like she said, oh, well, maybe you could have it if you paid me for it. And it sounds like she told them to pay her $10 million for it. And I
I
think
would ask for
that's
20
when,
million. They
right, and
have it.
that's when they got mad. Like that's when they were like that's when they were like, oh no, we're not paying 10 million. And so I don't know, like I wasn't there. I don't know if they
Yeah.
expected her to be happy with $100,000. Like sometimes you find a piece of artwork in your grandmother's, in the estate sale, and you think it's important, but you're not sure. And someone tricks you into selling it for $100, and you think, oh great, I got this thing for $100, but it was
Yeah.
actually worth $1 million.
Yeah,
Like
and then they go on an
she's not
antique
an idiot.
roadshow and find
Yeah, she's not an idiot. She
yeah.
realized that it's you could do this with a website. If you see something cool happening and you're able to snap up the website name, you can charge the person however
Mhm.
you want. Not every website name costs $15, right?
That's
It
right.
costs $15 when nobody wants it. But if somebody wants it and you already have it, like that's how free markets work. But
Mhm.
you're right. The main point of this is that they decided to change their name because
Oh, that's so
because they did some soul searching, and then the moment they got some pushback, they forgot all about that soul searching. And again, I think that like some new rules have been set, and this behavior might have flown by, like been okay. It wouldn't have been okay, but it might not have gotten as much attention in 2019, in
Like I could see if the
2018,
lady was
in
like a white
in
woman,
January.
but
Like it,
yeah,
even even
but
in April. Listen, Tommy, even in April, it wouldn't have gotten this much attention.
yeah.
But post May,
Hmm.
post June, when
That's right.
every city in the state, every city in the union has had a Black Lives Matter
Did,
protest,
did you
when
see?
most
Did you see the new sign on
countries
Fifth Avenue,
in front
right
of
in
the
front
Trump
of Trump
Tower,
Tower? Oh
right?
yes, that motherfucker has to
Um,
look at that shit every day.
there and in the at the White House, right? And
Hmm.
they've renamed some street right in front of the White House to Black Lives Matter Way or something.
Yeah, there was
But
some crazy white woman, I think in DC somewhere,
trying to
painting the
cover
letters
over.
with black paint. Uh, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah, some
Yeah,
of these
some
people,
crazy
I don't know. I'm
people.
like, some of these Karens, and I'm sorry for any Karens out there that are good people, but you're stuck with the moniker. That's
You
it.
better start using your middle name. Like it
You
just
might as well, yes, because Karen is not going anywhere. I'm sorry if
hmm
there's a lot of good Karens out there. I know of several, but
Karens and
they understand.
Becky's.
I'll call you
Hmm.
sweetie.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so it's just like another just like proof that a lot of I'm stumbling because but I'm not going to stumble.
I
It
just
is
see that
proof.
move as
Wait, no, wait. It is proof that a lot of people just give lip service to what they think that we want to hear.
mhm.
That's what it is, and I don't want to stumble over those words. And the way that you know that it's lip service is that when shit hits they revert right back to what they know, right? And so they were just saying what they thought that you wanted to hear, and then when shit hit the fan, they were just like, oh wait, but this is how I normally react, right? Like they can't even
Yeah.
help themselves.
It's like Rachel Maddow always says on her show, watch what they do, not what they say.
Right.
Right. And so
Mm-hmm.
my thing is this. I think that they realized that the temperature of the country in regards to black issues and black and brown people was at a fever pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and I think that I was like, we need to jump on this bandwagon quick before we
Mm-hmm.
get rolled over by the here comes the Black Lives Matter bus,
Right.
because it was
They were trying
coming,
to jump
right?
in front of it.
And so they were trying to jump in front of it, and now they're trying to bulldoze the next person who happens to be
Mm-hmm.
a black woman with that same bus.
Mm-hmm.
Not happening. And so
And we're
this
not
woman,
having it.
No.
I
And
hope
this
she gets
woman,
all her money. I hope she gets. First of all, I hope not only does she bar them from being able to use. I feel like she should not even take the money anymore, because you know what's going to happen is that Lady A, I didn't get to do it because I was driving today, but Lady A, the like original the real Lady A, she's going to see a spike in sales of whatever her thing is.
hmm
Whatever it is, people are going to go buy it, and she should hold out for that and keep them from having the name, and then she should get paid for the last 2 years of them pretending to be Lady A
get,
before they actually tried to make the change,
and if
because
they
they've been
really want the
using
name
her.
that bad, she can lease the name to them.
Mm,
You can use it for 5 years, but it will forever be mine. Just like
mine.
people have copyrights, you can
Yep.
pay a licensing fee to use that name to
Hmm.
me.
That's how people use the Trump name, right? Like
Yeah,
those buildings aren't his. He didn't make those buildings. They just
exactly.
pay to put his name on the building.
And I also need to add, do not, for the life of whatever's left of your career after this, even think about pulling a Prince.
And
Choosing an
cha-
icon and calling yourself the artist formerly known as Lady
mm.
Antebellum. Do not go there, because
That's
that
a
was
good point.
Prince's. It's done. It can't be done again. He was unique. You can't do it. So
That's
don't
so
go there.
funny. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because you know that was going to be next. Well, if we can't be Lady Antebellum, then we're going to have to be the band formerly known as. But we
As
will choose. Do not.
I was
You
like, that's
know.
not how soul searching works. But
And
you do
so
you.
yeah,
That's how
yeah,
you do you.
exactly. And so you do you, and we're gonna do us. Guess what? You're not getting our business.
You're not getting our name. So I'm totally on board with canceling Lady Antebellum,
Yeah.
and I felt bad feeling that way, especially since, like, I'm not going to throw away. The album is digital, right? I already paid for it. It doesn't change. I'm not going to buy any more of their stuff. I'm not committed to them in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be pretty easy to let go of them.
Yeah.
But I found myself trying to evaluate my response, right? Because my response to them is like, burn it down, like you all done fucked up today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out if that was excessive, right? Oh, Candace, you don't have to be so harsh. But then also this week, an update is from the thing that happened in the park with the two Coopers, Christian Cooper and Amy Cooper,
Oh,
where
I saw you post that
where
story. Yeah.
she where she tried to call, like, he was bird watching, and she pretended like he was attacking her and tried to get the police called on
Mm-hmm.
him. So it turns out that they're trying to bring
Charges against
charges
her.
against her, and he has said publicly that he's not going to participate. And he sort of said, she's already paid the price, like she lost her job, and people are making fun of her. She's lost everything. He doesn't feel like we need to pile on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself so viscerally upset by it. And I thought, well, Candace, are you being excessive? Like, nobody died, right? But a
Someone
lesson
could
has
have.
to be, somebody could have. Like, that is
Easily.
the
Somebody
thing.
could have. And other people have.
And other people have.
Look at
And
Michael
there's a
Brown. You look at
lesson,
Trayvon Martin. You look at, George
all
Floyd.
of
And you look at
them, all
all of
of
these
them
people, and, Breonna Taylor. And you see all of these people could die. You don't do that
have
shit.
died. People have died. And she did not give him that courtesy. She did not
Mm-hmm.
think, oh, if I call the police, they could murder him. She
Right.
didn't give him that courtesy. Meanwhile, he is so like, and I don't want to minimize him in any kind of way,
Well, that's
because
the
it's a
power of forgiveness.
traumatic,
For
right?
him,
But sometimes it's like, screw forgiveness.
mm,
Sometimes people have to pay in order for them to learn and for people around them to learn. And so he is so I feel like he and we are so like our minds are still so colonized, right? Protect white women, protect white fragility, protect white people, protect all things that are white, even at the detriment of ourselves. Like, it's deep in our minds, even when we know better. It is deep in our minds to think, oh, she's suffered enough.
yeah.
No, she hasn't. You almost died. Right. And that's not being dramatic. That is being factual and truthful. You almost
Right.
died.
But that's
So,
also, what I wanted to say too is, if for example, if you're a spiritual person, that's what they teach, forgive, right?
I
And
know.
so you have to balance that. When you're a person, I don't know whether he's religious or not, or whether he's a practicing, practices faith actively.
Listen, listen, I haven't been baptized that long. I got baptized at 27. That was not that long ago. I
Mm.
have not been baptized long enough to forgive for almost being murdered.
Well,
That is a hard stop.
but
That is a
that's
hard stop for me.
but that's the thing. For us, it's a hard stop. But we don't know what's going through his mind and why he has decided to do that, right?
I know.
And in the end, he
Still.
has that right, right?
I
He
know.
has the right
So,
to
not
forgive
participate.
and not participate.
What I'm hoping is that they can still put her in jail without him. Right? We all saw
Oh,
the tape. We all the 911 recording is there. There's a rule. I don't know if they're at the point where New York, if when this happened, New York already had that law on the books that you can't call and like do um a false claim or whatever it's called. So I don't know if that was already on the books, but there is something about wasting 911 time. And
not
so,
only
like, at the
that,
very least,
you're lying to officials.
that's true.
Michael
Yeah, so she
Cohen,
should get in trouble for that.
Michael Cohen went to jail. He had a 3-year sentence and got released early because of COVID concerns, and now he violated his terms and he's going right back in.
Oh my gosh. Of course he
This
did.
was the president's like used to be like
Right
bulldog
hand man.
lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my thing is this, it's you got to do what you got to do as a people. We already know what we need to do. We need to
Hmm.
cancel this bitch out because she almost killed him. But as
I
a
think they
human
should send her
being,
back to Canada.
do something. As
Let
a
them deal
human
with her.
being, he has the right to make that decision as to whether or not he even wants to continue
Yeah.
in this endeavor to see this woman destroyed, right? Because that's what we want. But that may not necessarily mean be what he wants anymore. And although we want what we want, we also have to respect his decision,
All
right?
right, fine.
And hope that the law will
Doesn't
do
need
what it's
him.
supposed to do.
Right. I worry that without him there's like no harm no foul, right? Without him there's no
There's
harm no
video.
foul. I get
There's
it. I get it. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the details of it,
you
but I
know
hope she still gets in trouble.
yeah,
I don't care that her reputation has already been ruined and she's lost
yeah,
her job. Like I need more. And I'm coming to peace with that. I'm coming to peace with the blood that I'm out for, cuz sometimes you just got to be out for
yeah,
blood.
yeah,
And so don't do something like that. Like it's
yeah,
not jaywalking. Call falsely accusing a black person of harm to you that's gonna, or like calling the police on a black person is not jaywalking. It is not any small matter,
yeah.
and we have died. And so,
And especially the
listen,
allegations that she was
I don't
making.
care.
She was, I'm gonna call them and tell them that you are
You are
attacking me.
exactly. Exactly. So, I was feeling guilty about
Yeah.
being as strong as I am
No.
on like being out for justice and jail time.
I feel
Maybe
the
not
same
blood,
way.
but justice and jail time. I want it all. So
Yeah.
whatever the book is, throw the whole book at her.
I feel the same way. And and I also understand that for him, it must be difficult, right? Because
Yeah.
he is at the forefront of what we are fighting for justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that when things like this happen, we need to react quickly, and police and people in charge of protecting and serving need to act swiftly and punish people so that you can show the rest of the population that this behavior is unacceptable
Yeah.
in
And that's what we
any
want.
level.
That's what we want.
And if they're not doing that, then, again, are we really getting anywhere? And another thing I want to throw out there too is that I'm noticing that this movement, the fire is dying down. I don't want to see
Mm-hmm.
that. It
So
I I have plenty of wood in my backyard. I will throw more wood in that fucking fire if we need to. But we're literally at the precipice of making significant change.
yeah.
And if you have to burn it all down, do it.
Yeah, so I think to be fair, I don't think that that it's actually dying down. I think that the media coverage has
Yeah.
slowed down,
But I
especially
haven't
when
seen I haven't
so
seen
there have
a lot of
actually
stuff
been
on social media.
I know, but there've actually been several several protests that have happened in just the last week in different states, and there also have been several statues that have come down recently, which are their
Hmm.
own form of protest. Right? They might not be as big as a big march, but it's still protest. But the media has put a damper on it, and so we're
Yeah.
not seeing it when they were highlighting rioting, and I put that in air quotes very
Hmm.
strongly because we were not rioting. When they were highlighting rioting, it was all over the news, and
That's right.
it was purposeful to make black and brown people look like they were just animals and crazy. But
Hmm.
when we showed them that actually there were like white people who were starting these looting and riots, like the riot behavior, then all of
Hmm.
a sudden it changed, right? And they stopped showing that. So
I think they even
the
burned like a
media,
statue of like Melania Trump back in Slovakia
I
or
saw that
Slovenia or Slovenia,
Slovenia.
wherever the hell she is from. They,
They
I
said you
don't know
making
if
us
that,
look bad.
I don't know if that was a true story, but they did, and so if
Hmm.
it really was true, yay,
Good
because I
for
love
them,
it.
right?
Yeah, it's been a very very crazy week to
Columbus
say
statues are coming down.
left and right.
Andrew Jackson statues are coming down. Uh,
Italian
that
people are
that
losing their shit,
that
even though the
that
man was Portuguese.
right. That king of Belgium, I forget his name, but his statue is coming down. He's the king who famously like brutalized the Congo during his reign, and his statue is coming down. But the difference between, say, a Belgium and a United States is the Belgian people are like, dude, we are so sorry. Like, he was an asshole. We don't even like him anymore. You're
Mm.
right. We should have taken down this statue a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they said in Germany. That's what they said in Belgium. Like, they get it.
Yeah,
Here in
they'll
America,
throw them in the bay.
people dig in so hard here in
Yeah,
America, and they're just like, no, this is our history, this is our culture, you can't erase history. We're like, no, we're not erasing. We don't forget. We're not going to forget slavery
you
because
can't forget
Andrew
that
Jackson
shit.
came down. We're not going to forget the slavery and the Trail of Tears and all of the things that happened just because we took down the Columbus statue. We're not
Mhm.
forgetting. We're just saying we don't want to look at this shit every day,
That's
right?
right. And be
We
reminded of the
and
fact
be
that these are
reminded
the
of
people
it.
that did this to us.
Yeah. So
You know?
so we're not forgetting, and I'm side eyeing all of the people who are insistent that can't erase history and you can't change history by just like taking down a statue. And it's like,
I
dude,
have
we know
been on a
if we could,
delete frenzy.
we would have all our ancestors
Hmm. Yep. You froze on me, my dear.
back.
Well, it seems we're having a little technical difficulty with Candace.
We don't have our all of our. What we're doing is no longer. I'm back. You're back. Are you back?
Are you back?
Oh, I'm back. I'm back.
I'm back.
You
She's
were
back.
breathing, and I thought it was frozen, but you were just breathing. Like,
Okay, so she's back. So my thing is this, like, for example, you had people, they put up a fucking billboard on 95 saying that Columbus was like the first Italian American and like its heritage. Like somebody actually paid for that shit. And I'm
yeah.
like, all right, dumbass, let me remind you, he
Like
wasn't Italian.
Wikipedia will tell you he's not Italian.
He's not Italian. He was actually Portuguese. And to make matters worse, he didn't come to the US or to the land that later would be called America um, for Italy. He
Right. He
literally
came for
traveled
Spain.
that for Spain.
Yeah.
So if anything, that would probably be something that maybe Spaniards would look at, but they don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
Gee, I
They're like,
wonder
y'all can
why.
keep that.
Gee, I wonder why. So, yeah, no, and it's time, and I think that what we should be doing is fuck the statues,
Hmm.
put up little angels with wings or whatever, and or gargoyles. Everybody seems to like gargoyles,
Yeah,
and
there's so many cool, good people in
yeah,
history, right? Who don't get any shine because they're not white men.
Hmm.
And I think that this is a prime time to look for some of those people who fought against the ones that we're taking down. Those are the people who should have the statues. And if
Like,
not, like, don't put up a statue, just put up a lamp. Just like it, we don't need
seriously.
it.
Or a fountain or something with, little
Yes.
bubbles blowing out. I don't know. But, so
But
there was a
really, I
story.
think
There
they
was an
can put
interesting
up.
story.
Go ahead.
There was an interesting story in the paper regarding what statues should replace
Mm-hmm.
um, Christopher Columbus in Worcester Square. As you know, Worcester Square was a predominantly Italian neighborhood. There's a lot of Italian heritage, true Italian heritage.
Mm-hmm.
Pizza, it's known for its pizza, it's known for its pasta, its restaurants, and the fact that it was a very large Italian population when they first came over in the 1920s to you know live in this one area of New Haven. And so since then, there have been numerous people that did so much for that Italian community while they were growing up there. Right, when you think
Mm-hmm.
about, for example, some of the people that they suggested was to put Frank and Philomena Pepe,
Mm-hmm.
who started Frank Pepe's Pizza, and started this amazing restaurant and really helped flourish that neighborhood. And if you want to talk about honorable Italian American people, people who came here as immigrants and worked their whole life and created something amazing that's known the world over, that's someone you could put up there and be proud of as an Italian American. Why would you
Mm-hmm.
want to fight to keep someone who killed people up there? Right? And the
Listen.
same could be said for, places in other areas of New Haven that might be predominantly, for example, Latino or predominantly Black, and that you can find people that represent who you are as a person, and that tells the story of your struggle, and honor those people for the work that they did.
Mm-hmm. It's
But
real.
they're not
It's
having that.
real.
They're not having that
No.
discussion.
They don't want to have that discussion. People, and
So,
that's because people just dig in and are more driven by tradition
mhm.
and not by like facts or you know movement forward. I don't even know. Tradition clouds a lot of
Yeah,
minds, and tradition is not fact. It's just tradition.
that's
There's
right.
nothing there's nothing absolute about traditions. We could be doing the same, honoring the same tradition, and in my house it looks different from your house. It's not
Hmm.
wrong. It's not a factual thing. So
Yeah.
I think people should broaden their minds and not be so clouded by tradition, because it causes a lot of problems
So
in
it's
the
funny. The other
church,
day, I
in
was
communities. That's everywhere.
I was in the bathroom, and so I haven't been doing karaoke in many months. Bars are closed. I
Mm-hmm.
can't run karaoke. I can't sing, and so I do a lot of singing when I'm by myself in the house. Like, I'm ready to put my system outside and just start singing to my neighbors. Like, that's how much I want to sing. And so I was singing the Puerto Rican national anthem in the bathroom,
Uh-huh.
and halfway through it, I realized that there's a passage in the Puerto Rican national anthem that speaks of Columbus arriving on the
Mm-hmm.
island and how he's saying, "Oh, oh, oh, how a beautiful island," and blah blah blah. I was like, when people realize that that shit needs to go, they're gonna lose their shit.
Nothing is safe. Nothing is safe.
And
If we have to
so,
rewrite anthems, then we'll rewrite
yeah,
anthems.
but there is a passage in our national anthem that talks about Christopher Columbus arriving on our island and how he looked at the shores of Puerto Rico and said, "Oh, you're gorgeous. You're what we call the pearl of the ocean," something to that effect. But it mentions nothing of all the genocide and everything else that
Right.
happened
Of
shortly
course.
after. And so, yeah, I think that we need to have a come to Jesus moment
Hmm.
with the Puerto Rican people and their national anthem and figure out what the hell we're going to do about that.
Well, I think it's just with all of the things.
Yeah.
Our country is so steeped in racism and that it's systemic. It's in everything,
Hmm.
and that we as a country have to come to have a come to Jesus moment. That none of these things are sacred. They can't be sacred, especially if they were built on the backs of some of us. You know what I
So,
mean? And so if it means that we have to pay Beyonce to write a new United States anthem, a new US anthem, then maybe that's what we have to
yes,
do, right?
I'm
If it
totally
means
on
that we
board for
have
that. Yeah.
to make a new flag, I mean, the flag was made by a black woman, so maybe that's okay. And that's my own bias. Fine,
Yeah.
judge me if you want to. But like none of these things, again, these are all traditions,
Hmm.
these anthems, these pledges of allegiance, right? It's so interesting. I was talking about the Pledge of Allegiance with Lincoln, and we were talking about what a pledge means. What is a pledge and what's allegiance and why would you say it? And he's actually been interested in learning the Black national anthem, which is Lift Every Voice and Sing. So we actually sing that twice every morning, the first verse. We don't go into the key change. We're just learning the first stanza for now. But
Yeah.
he asked me in the morning, he's like, can we sing that song? Can we sing that song again? And so we've just been singing it. And we don't remember to sing it at the same time every morning, but we sing it in the car. We sing it whenever we remember. And I felt terrible that it didn't occur to me that I should teach him that. I was like, oh, we should keep practicing the Pledge of Allegiance because when you go back to school, they're going to expect you to remember it. And he said to me, oh, but I want to learn that other song. And I was like, the kids are all right. The kids are all right.
They're gonna be fine.
No,
Listen, this generation growing up is gonna be handed a different America, right? Every
I hope
generation, as
so.
we get older and older, get to experience a different America, and so when you go back 2 or 3 generations, the strife and the fight of those that lived or were at their like prime age, let's say 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, during the 50s and 60s, got to see change in such a drastic way. And then the following generation got to experience another different kind of issues and problems and drugs and things like that that came after. And then you look at, for example, millennials and all of the shit that they get for all the stuff that supposedly they don't do or they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the new Gen Zs and their open mindedness and their ability to take stuff and create amazing things and movements by just simply just tweeting about it, right? And so you
Yeah.
literally starting to see how each generation is going to be known for or defined by just by
Mm-hmm.
looking at how things move today versus how they did 20 years ago.
It's true.
And
Well,
it's it's
fingers
it's
crossed.
incredible. It's incredible to
Fingers
see.
crossed. Well, thank you for coming to our TED Talk
That's right.
on this second week of July. Just basically talking about some of the shenanigans that are
Hmm.
going on around us, and we didn't even touch on Kanye West running for president, which we were just going to put a pin in. I'm just going to say it out loud and put a pin in it. I don't care about it, and I hope that he drops out next week. But this July is shaping up to be just as wild as June, just as wild as May, as all of the
Hmm.
months. And I am trying to remind myself, I am reminding myself that when you look for the good, you find the good. And when you look for the crazy, you find the crazy.
Mm.
So
Same here.
I encourage us, myself included, to start looking for good and to notice the crazy, but not put so much emphasis on it because it is very from like murder hornets to like giant what are these
Telling
things
you,
called, jellyfish, all of these things. When you're looking for craziness is going to come,
it's
and
Jumanji.
it's a distraction. So I am encouraging myself and everyone
Yep.
else to look for the good, to be aware, to be cautiously aware of everything that is going on, to honor your level um, of protest, of advocacy, of engagement. Honor the level that is right for you. We can't all be out on the front lines. Some of us, like me, have to bark from the stoop. That's what I do. I bark really loud from my stoop, and then nobody walks past my stoop. Like that's what I'm doing.
You're like the little
Um,
chihuahua, right?
yes.
Make a lot of noise.
Um,
And that's okay,
exactly.
right?
And that's
We
okay. So I encourage everybody to honor where they are and not to feel any guilt or shame because you
Mhm.
can't do something that someone else is doing. We need all of us in
That's right.
all of this. And that's just how I was have been feeling, is how I've been feeling through therapy the last couple weeks. Like I just can't. I'm not going to survive with feeling guilt for the things that I can't do or that I don't want to do. I'm allowed to make
Right.
choices about what I want to do and what I don't want to do, and so are you. So take that and go into this the rest of July knowing that you can you can do what you need to do, and you can make it through July without succumbing to the crazy.
Because
Like
August
it's the
is
most
right around the corner.
it's right around the corner. And
New
if we
month.
look for crazy, we're gonna find
Yeah.
even more crazy things come
So,
August. So
and then I don't know if you're making your way out, but I just wanted to remind everyone that the show is available on iTunes. It's available on
mhm.
Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts. It's also
YouTube.
on YouTube as a video version of the show,
Hmm.
and on, did I say digital stream radio? I just did.
Say it again.
Um,
Say it again.
Digital stream radio.
Yeah.
And so make sure that you go rate, subscribe, and review the show. Share with your friends. Let them know that the show exists. We come on here and we give you everything we've got, our hearts, our souls, what we're going through, in hopes that in some way, shape, or form, what we're going through, what we're talking about, the experiences that we're sharing with you, make positive changes in your life, and that somehow you can be distracted by all the craziness that's going on in this world. Wash your hands, wash your ass, wear your mask, and just do what you got to do so that we can get through this. And I promise you that for most, there's going to be a
We
very
will.
bright light at the end of that tunnel.
We will. So until next time.
Follow us at Facebook at Breezy Moms Podcast or email us at breezymomspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, don't stress, just breathe.